Shalom. We begin this the week of August 17th to 23rd, Parsha, Ki Tese, meaning when you go out. It begins in Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 10 through chapter 25, verse 19. And then the Haftorah can be found in Isaiah chapter 54, 1 through 10. I'll translate taken from the Tanakh. When you take the field against your enemies, and the Lord your God delivers them into your power, and you take some of them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire her and would take her to wife, you shall bring her into your house, and she shall trim her hair, pare her nails, and discard her captive's garb. She shall spend a month's time in your house, lamenting her father and her mother. After that you may come to her and possess her, and she shall be your wife. Then you should no longer want her. Then should you no longer want her, you must release her outright. You must not sell her for money, since you had your will of her. You must not enslave her. And Rashi, who was an outstanding biblical commentator of the Middle Ages, born in France, and he lived about 1040 to 1105, he said the Torah responds to the most often inflamed passions of a soldier in battle. Rather than risk sin, the Torah provides an avenue for the lustful soldier to satisfy his desire.
It's 5 o'clock.
So that it will cool before it causes more harm. After the laws of captive women, the Torah speaks of a hated wife and then an incorrigibly rebellious child. The implication is that improper infatuation with a captive woman will lead to one family tragedy after another. The Parsha does state release her outright. So let's look at this aspect of Jewish divorce law. Judaism recognizes the concept of no-fault divorce for thousands of years. Judaism has always accepted divorce as a fact of life. Judaism maintains that it is better for a couple to divorce than to remain together in a state of constant bitterness and strife. Under Jewish law, a man can divorce a woman for any reason or for no reason. The Talmud specifically states that a man can divorce a woman because she spoils his dinner, or simply because he finds another woman more attractive, and the woman's consent to the divorce is not required. In fact, Jewish law requires divorce in some circumstances when the wife commits a sexual transgression. A man must divorce her, even if he is inclined to forgive her. This does not mean that Judaism takes divorce lightly. Many aspects of Jewish law discourage divorce. The procedural details involved in arranging a divorce are complex and exacting. Except in certain cases of misconduct by the wife, a man who divorces his wife is required to pay her substantial sums of money as specified in the ketubah, the marriage contract. In addition, Jewish law prohibits a man from remarrying his ex-wife after she has married another man. Kohanim cannot marry divorcees at all. Now let's talk about this process of obtaining divorce. According to the Torah, a divorce is accompanied simply by writing a bill of divorce, handing it to the wife, and sending her away. To prevent husbands from divorcing their wife recklessly or without proper considerations, the rabbi considered complex rules regarding the process of writing the document, delivery, and acceptance. A competent rabbinical authority should be consulted for any divorce. The document in question is referred to in the Talmud as a Sefer Keriut, scroll of cutting off, but is more commonly known today as a get. The get is not phrased in negative terms. The traditional text does not emphasize the breakdown of the relationship, nor does it specify the reason for the divorce. Rather, it states that the woman is now free to marry another man. It is not necessary for the husband to personally hand the get to the wife. If it is not possible or desirable for the couple to meet, a messenger may be appointed to deliver the get. It is important to note that a civil divorce is not sufficient to dissolve a Jewish marriage. As far as Jewish law is concerned, a couple remains married until the woman receives the get. This has been a significant problem. Many liberal Jews have a religiously valid marriage, yet do not obtain a religiously valid divorce. If the woman remarries after such a procedure, her second marriage is considered an adulterous one, and her children are considered mamzerim, or in other words, illegitimate. Let's talk about the inequality of sexes, which is somewhat obvious. The position of the husband and wife with regard to divorce is not equal one. According to the Talmud, only the husband can initiate a divorce, and the wife cannot prevent him from divorcing her. Later, rabbinical authorities took the steps to ease the harshness of these rules by prohibiting a man from divorcing a woman without her consent. In addition, a rabbinical court can compel a husband to divorce his wife under certain circumstances, when he is physically repulsive because of some medical condition or characteristic, when he violates or neglects his marital obligations, food, clothing, and sexual intercourse, for examples, or according to some views, when there is sexual incompatibility. A peculiar problem arises, however, when a man disappears or deserts his wife or is presumed dead, but there is insufficient proof of death. Under Jewish law, a divorce can only be initiated by the man. Thus, if the husband cannot be found, he cannot be compelled to divorce the wife, and she cannot marry another man. A woman in this situation is referred to as aguna, which means to be anchored. The rabbis agonize over this problem, balancing the need to allow the woman to remarry with the risk of an adulterous marriage, a grave transgression that would affect the status of the offspring of the marriage if the husband reappeared. No definitive solution to this problem exists. So to prevent this problem to some extent, it is customary in many places for a man to give his wife a conditional get whenever he goes off to war, so that if he never comes home and his body is not found, his wife does not become a guna. The Parsha states, release her outright. As you have heard, is more complicated than that. A well-written ketubah, marriage contract, that covers most contingencies is the solution. Some rabbis, will not perform marriages without one. That concludes today's Parsha.